restart it. And now we're going to know about 3D layers. So again, like I said, when it comes to 3D layers, when like After Effects, you can have a 3D space. All right, and I'll even put the project up on. Let me actually put this up on the announcements, so you guys will have something to mess with. Just to kind of try out the 3D testing. I don't want to call it testing. Everyone who's not here is going to be like, what? We had a test? I call it 3D demo image. Okay, and let's see where I can attach. Not the city. Where were you? Beach. Yes. I'm just going to open that up. And if you want to follow. All right. Okay, so if you guys want to follow, feel free to download that file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import and open it up. And this isn't necessarily, they don't always have to be AI, and I'm just doing this because it's going to be a layered file, or I made it a layered file, and you could do this in any sorts of different ways. I'm just showing you something that's a little bit more fun, whimsical. Maybe you guys can get some ideas. I'm going to import it as composition retain layer sizes because it is a layered file. So I'm going to have those settings up. I'm going to press open, and here we go. So we've got our beach. Perfect. All right. So let's see, what do we have here? So I'm going to rename that. I'm going to call that palm tree. And this is the background. But I'm going to also call this the sky. All right, and this is probably going to be more like mid-ground. All right. So, and one more thing, a little side note, guys. So if you guys have flat vector art that does not have any gradients on it, you guys can always go in to any imported vector file, because right now it's flat, but you can go in and then you can go into create shapes from vector layer, and I believe that works. So now it actually took this layer and then basically recopied it and then turn it into live vector art. So if you ever need to tweak something, tweak a shape, make some modifications, that's one way you can go about it. All right, so again, I digress. All right, so when we have 3D layers, let me go in down here where it says toggles and swatches and modes. If you don't see something here, you can just quickly press this button at the bottom, and now it has our little toggle switches. So what we have now is we have this option right here. It looks like a little cube, all right? So if you guys see that right there, as you guys can see, you've got a cube and you've got all these little toggle switches down here. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to use this. I'm actually going to get rid of the palm tree. And I'm just going to use the palm tree from the shape layer. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to quickly, I'm going to click on this, but then watch here. So as you can see, right now there's no controls or settings here, but watch when I click. Ooh, controls and settings. All right. So I'm going to also click the midground, and I'm also going to click the sky behind it. So what that basically did, all right, let me unclick it really fast. So when you have the transform node, so you can see scale, X, Y, position, X, Y, you have basically 2D inputs. When I click on the 3D setting, it adds a third input. That's the Z. That's the Z axis. So again, if you ever want to, it's pretty much universal all around. But X means right to left, Y up and down, Z front to back. Okay. So, and it's usually marked. If you guys ever notice this, and this is something if you guys ever decide to fiddle around with 3D, most of the time, there are exceptions, but most of the time it's color coded. You're going to have Y, which is basically going to be labeled as green. X, which is labeled as red, and then Z, which is labeled as blue. Okay. I believe you can also. I don't think that's a pivot control. But what this does basically is it gives us this extra dimension to work with. So what I'm actually going to do, because right now they're essentially occupying the same Z space. They're almost like they're almost where they are in that axis. So what I want to do is actually want to separate them, give them a little bit of depth here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into right here. We've got our controls and our scrolls. We have Classic 3D Active Camera. So this is what we'll get into more. I'm going to show you how that's going to work. And then we've got View. Right now we've got one view. So again, we're seeing one view right here. Oh, and one more thing, guys. If you haven't noticed, you guys will notice this little pivot right here. We'll get more into that in just a second. So this is essentially, it's a pivot control. So let's go into actually where it says one view. I'm going to actually click on it, and it has two views. I'm going to click on two views. And now, as you can see, now it's split that view. This is also one of the reasons why I prefer having at least two monitors when working with this stuff, because you can it is modular, so you can move some stuff around. But whenever I work in like Maya, that's more my thing, or Cinema 4D, I usually have two views. One that's usually my camera view where I want the actual rendering to record. The other one is like this custom view here. This almost gives me an ability to look over the entire scene that I'm making, so I know if I need to make any adjustments. So right now, normally, if I were to render this is going to be the default where it says active camera. It rarely, it's not going to render the custom view, but you can also change it to right here where it says custom view. So if I click on custom view, you can see these little blue triangles. So if I click on whatever view it is, it's going to basically mean that any controls I do with the camera and the view are going to affect this view. So for instance, if I actually wanted to just look at the very top, again, you're seeing nothing because essentially it's like looking at paper from the side. So if you want to look from the front, pretty much the same. If you want to look, custom view number 2. So again, you guys are getting the idea. So if you want to ever take a look and see things from a different angle, this is what helps. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on Sky, and as you guys noticed right here, this pivot happened. So I'm actually going to bring down the controls. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, you could do one of two things. If I want to actually push this sky back, you can go into the position, and where it says Z, where it's at absolute 0, you can drag it that way if you want to take it forever, or if you want more precision. But down and dirty, I'm just going to basically bring my cursor over to where the Z pivot axis is, right, that little blue arrow right there. And I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm just going to push it back. All right. So as you guys can also notice, so in this view, now that I'm bringing this square essentially further and further back, it's getting smaller. That's because it's going back into space. So it's creating essentially what's called a parallax. All right. You guys know what a parallax is? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. So for those of you who are not in the initiated, in the layman's terms, essentially what parallax is a good description would be if you guys are looking out from like a bus or a train or a car, and you're seeing objects that are basically closer to you, moving really fast. The objects further in the background are going really slow. That's an example of parallax. So it's indicating the 3D space. Okay. So I'm going to go to mid-ground. I'm going to click on that. And now I'm going to basically just push this back also just a little bit, all right? And I'm also going to compensate. So for the sky, I'm just going to see where it says scale. I'm just going to just bring it out, and I'm going to have it cover this view right here. All right, same thing with the mid-ground. Going to go and transform, scale. I'm going to bring that out too, just a little bit. All right. So right now what we see is essentially we're kind of like here that we're seeing almost kind of like a almost like looking over like a diorama or like a stage essentially. And I'm actually going to take that palm tree, And you can also, I'm just going to duplicate it as well.
Are you recording this right now?
I am. That's just, I get it. And I'm actually going to go into transform and the scale, and I'm actually going to undo the constraint, and I'm going to have negative 100. No, wait, that's not going to do anything. It's X, so I'm going to have it as negative 100. And oh, there we go. So, you know, a little bit of mirroring. All right, and I'm also going to make it a little bit bigger. Oh, reconstrain that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. All right, and I'm also going to go in, and I'm actually going to turn the tree just a little tiny bit. There we go. It doesn't not too much. And that's a cool thing, guys. It's almost like you're kind of sort of setting up. If you really kind of want to make a really cool, fun scene, that's the way to do it. All right, so let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I am actually going to lock these right now, just to kind of prevent myself from accidentally shifting it. And I am going to also create another shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into New, Shape Layer, and I am actually going to, one more thing. So when I made a new shape layer, let me show you. I'm actually going to, no, I don't want a square. I want a circle, because that would be an awful weird looking sun. All right, so here we go. Sorry guys, they're doing construction on the other side, so I apologize if you start to hear any loud noises. All right, and I'm going to also.
So you can like essentially like set a camera through those trees kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can basically, and the cool thing about working with 3D, which I like with like, you can actually do a lot of really cool effects just with the camera turning around and, you know, doing some like cool spinning effects, and not really have to worry too much about like, you know, animating everything else. Yes. You guys doing okay over there? Yeah? Okay. All right, so where was I? What color should the sun be? All right. Yeah, that sort of works. Yeah, nice and warm. Okay, so one more thing. So right now, this shape layer with the sun, it's 2D. By default, what happens is that by default, a 2D layer is going to be on the top, because again, it's adhering to the old hierarchy of 2D. So basically, since this thing is essentially on top layer, you know, it's going to be the first thing you're going to see. So what I want to do is I actually want to click on this, make this 3D, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push this back. So as you guys can see, and one more thing, I gotta center this puppy. Woo! What the heck happened there?
All you do is just send it back and you did something.
Huh?
You send it back and you did a button.
Oh, I just grabbed it, and then I just dragged it in the back and pushed it in the back. Let me try to kind of align it, because it's a little. Oh, it's a 3D layer, because I can't do it. Oh, fudge. All right. And I'm actually going to quickly do this. There we go. So it's nice and centered. All right. Sorry, there's an easier way to do this, but I'm like, ugh, I don't feel like doing it right now. All right, so I'm going to actually now push it back. Okay, because now that's a 3D layer. Now I can kind of, let's see. Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to do a quick animation. So I'm going to quickly I'm going to actually start here. No, yeah, I am. Okay, yes. I'm going to start here. Actually, no, I'm going to start here. You guys good? You guys good? Okay. All right. I'm going to hit position. I'm going to drag it back because I keep on getting confused with sunrise and sunset. And I would say this is more appropriate of a sunset considering the color palette. So I'm actually going to push that sun down. And let's see. Oh, this could be really fun. And then what I could also do is I'm going to create text, and I'm going to just do something completely goofy. I'm just going to lame or whatever. 3D layers, short and to the point. And let me just going to make it really, really big. And Futura condensed extra bold. And again, guys, you guys feel free to mess around with the font of your choice. Does it look with the white? I mean, it does look kind of nice, or does it? Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of like it with the white. Well, we'll try. Well, it doesn't matter. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to bring that down, and I'm going to kind of just all right. So visually, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to kind of just fiddle with it a little bit. So I'm going to go here. All right, seeing through this view. Right now you can see the text is between the palm trees and the midground here. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to kind of turn it a little bit so it's almost kind of like right here on the shoreline. So right now, as you can see, let's open this up, and I believe this is going to affect orientation. Yes. So orientation is a little bit different from rotation. I prefer whenever I'm doing 3D objects and I need to kind of set something to like key something or set something up when it comes to the axis, I usually prefer orientation. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring my cursor down, and you see this little ring up here. I'm going to grab onto the little ball right here, and I'm going to actually kind of turn it. And let's see. Yeah. It's almost there in 3D layers. So now you get to, let's actually make it a little bit bigger. Ooh. Not a problem. And I'm just going to make some adjustments just slightly. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to, again, I usually, if you're trying to make sure something looks like if you want to get something oriented, go with orientation rather than rotation. Okay, so if it basically helps kind of like when you're trying to like manage something in 3D space. I prefer doing that mostly because it kind of helps. Like these I'll use mostly for keying, and if you're actually doing like a spinning rotation. But for orientation, that's what I'll adjust to kind of place everything where they need to be. So it kind of sort of almost feels a little bit like set design. So if you guys have ever worked in theater, maybe, I don't know, but I have. So I usually, one of the things I enjoy is like set design. So it gives you an idea of like placement of space. And this is one of the cool things you can do right here. So yeah, so the sun goes down, and I'm actually going to change. And I think again, you can have a little fun with this. I'm going to unlock the sky, and I'm actually going to change. Huh?
Change luminance and the gradient for colors?
You mean for the sky?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I was thinking about doing. I was actually going to think about adding a fill. So what we could do here, I don't know if I've gone too much into adjustment layers with you guys, but let's do it again just to kind of show you. Let's see if this would work. Have I used an adjustment layer in the 3D layer? I believe I have. I'm going to go into new adjustment layer. Okay, so it creates an adjustment layer, and what I'm actually going to do now is, let's try this. I'm going to add an effect on the adjustment layer, and this is where adjustment layers can come in handy. I'm going to call this one, I'm going to use fill. Let's see if this works. Yes, it does. So basically right now we're looking at the 3D space. This adjustment layer is going to adjust everything that is underneath. So right now this is the sky. Now instead of seeing this apocalyptic red sky, I'm actually going to probably turn this more into like a blue color. So I'm going to go into the adjustment layer and I'm going to make it more darker with like a little bit of a blue. And actually, you know what? I can probably do it even better. I'm actually going to disable that for right now, because I think what we can do, because you gave me a great idea, Drew. I think I'm going to put a gradient on this, a gradient ramp. So I'm actually going to put a gradient ramp on the adjustment layer. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to actually make it like nighttime colors, and it's usually kind of like almost like a kind of like that. And then what I'm going to do is, we got the midground adjustment layer. So I'm having a great time, because this is kind of what I usually use these more for. This is actually what got me into working with After Effects. So as you can see, this adjustment layer, I'm actually going to call this one night. And let's see, I think this one with the midground. Let's see if this works. What it might do is, I'm just going to see if I can cool this down a little bit. So I'm going to go into Effect, Color Correction, and I'm going to add, let's go with Color Balance. And so this is what we call, guys, non-destructive editing. Okay, and the reason why I like to use this a lot is because if you ever need to make tweaks, this is a great way to do it without having to, because if I put a whole bunch of effects on one layer, it can get really difficult really, really quickly. So what this does is it's almost the same thing as like when I like using nulls. Okay, with that, rather than putting a bunch of transform properties and keying on one layer, sometimes I can put that on the null, and the null will be able to carry that on. Okay, so let's bring down the red balance in the sky. Let's see what happens. It might bring everything down. Ooh, it is. Let's highlight red balance. Ooh. Okay, so it's really just affecting the sky. So what I'm probably going to have to do, because it's an adjustment layer. All right. So I'm actually just going to take this and I'm just going to bring that in. I'm just going to cut that. I'm just going to put that into the midground itself. And I'm going to go in and let's see, going through the effect. So remember, guys, if you ever have an effect that you want to put in here, the effect is going to show inside your layer. So actually, I'm going to just reset. There we go. I'm going to key everything there. And then I'm going to, let's see, that would be about, let's do 1 second. I'm going to bring everything down. You know what? I might actually. There we go. Yeah, there we go. And I think we can do that, yeah. And then I'm actually going to copy the effect and then put the exact same thing here on our little palm trees. And it might, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of tweaking on them, and that's okay. Will it work? No, it doesn't seem to be working. All right, well, that's fine. We can fix those later. I don't want to get too distracted for right now, but oh, and we got to make sure that that sun isn't going down too low. So why? Ah, for some reason it's showing up here and it shouldn't be. All right. Why are you showing up when you shouldn't be showing up? I wonder why I shouldn't be seeing you. Midground. Maybe it's a color balance. No. That's what I'm thinking, yeah. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, because what it should be hidden by this. So what I might actually have to do, let's try a little trick. I'm just going to take my null and I'm going to make that 3D too, and I'm going to take my sun, and I should probably, guys, a little trick, sun, always label your layers. So let's go in, I'm going to go into my transform, and I'm actually going to push it back. And let's see, the sun should be, interesting. Okay. I think it worked. Oh. You know why? It is the adjustment layer. Dang it. I thought we were going to get along so great, so I'm going to have to do this. I'm probably going to have to just, let's see. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, I think it's because I got rid of the other adjustment layer. Okay, never mind then. Okay, so guys, my apologies. And let's go in. And sometimes you're going to find that the more you experiment and play around with some stuff, the more you're like, oh, why isn't it doing that way? Sometimes you have to do a lot of critical thinking and a lot of problem solving. Sorry, I hate to tell you guys this, but I'm sure if you guys do videos and you guys do filmography editing, you guys have to do a lot of problem solving. So this is really no different. But this, it's fun, but then again, I'm weird. Like, I like problem solving when it comes to this sort of stuff. But that's also because I've done it so long, you start to understand how the tools work. So when you encounter a problem, you're like, I wonder if it's this or I wonder if it's that. You know, if you guys probably with editing too, editing software, working with certain camera equipment, it's pretty much the same thing, you know. I always just say, guys, just experiment, play around, mess around with this. This is kind of one of the things that I like to do. All right, so let's see. Rather than kind of tweaking, because I could really kind of take this and do all sorts of crazy fun things with this, I'm actually going to now set up my camera. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into Layer, go into New, Camera. And again, it's pretty much the same settings. So when you guys are working on something, you see some of these settings here. You guys are probably going to be a lot more well-versed in cameras than I am, for the most part. So, but these usually function as if you were actually using a real film camera. So I'll click Film Cam. Yeah. Oh yeah. You could do it in here. You can lock the zoom. You can enable a depth of field blur if you want to. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with this. Be forewarned, guys. If you guys choose to do something like this, it will not hurt your computer, but just make sure that your machine can handle it too, because it can get really like oof. All right, really extra. So as you guys can see, I created the camera. It created the camera right up here. Usually the camera layers will always be on the top. Okay, so as you guys might even be able to see, I have my camera right here. This little dot, this construct right here, this represents the camera. This represents the field that it's basically recording. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to pull out. I'm just going to go. I always like to start backwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the finishing shot, and again the same transform nodes apply, and by default it's going to have it's going to already be 3D activated. So I'm actually going to go into position. I'm actually going to pull it out just a little bit so I can kind of sort of see everything. Oh dear. It looks a little choppy down here. So we could do two things. I can actually go into this layer right now with the beach and I can expand it, but I might not really want to do that. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go and create the new, and I'm going to create a solid layer, and I'm going to take the color from the beach, press OK. Okay, so now we've got this nice magenta gold beach color, which I don't really think I'm going to need to kind of change the color, so I'm going to make sure it's only seen during the night. And what I can do now is I'm actually going to make it more of a flat platform. So I'm going to go down to where it says, well, first I'm going to make it a 3D layer, and I'm going to go into the orientation, and I'm going to, this would be X, Y, yeah, X. So I'm going to actually adjust the X. Hello! And I'm going to actually make it more flat, and I'm going to kind of bring it down. I always tell people, think about 3D layers almost like you're making a diorama. Do you guys ever remember making those? So think of these now as almost like flat pieces of construction paper, if you so choose to think of it in those terms. So I'm actually going to bring it down. I'm going to bring it perfect. So I'm actually going to also bring it more to the forefront. And actually I'm going to scale it. And I'm going to also bring it down. There we go. So I'm going to keep on doing that. And I'm actually going to bring down the scale. Yeah, there we go. So it's actually the Y. A little bit that mountain is cut off. That's okay. Normally, guys, whenever I do things like this, I usually actually create my own assets, and I'll actually like trace them so the whole assets, because it's like I kind of look at it as a prop at that point. All right. So I'm actually going to lock that for right now. Okay, so right now we're the camera is kind of like all the way like here, so it's like 3 layers. Okay. Ooh, that looks a little rough. But let's go over, and I'm actually going to take my camera, and I'm actually going to go in, and I'm going to zoom close to the sun. Okay. So I just dragged it to the sun, and what I also did, let's bring it up to the camera. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Oh no. I'm going to actually, first thing I want to do is I want to key the position and points of interest in the camera for the hero shot, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in, and now I'm going to zoom forward. There we go. And the point of interest, I'm going to just adjust it slightly. There we go. That's not bad, yeah. All right. And let's see. All right. Yeah, it's a little, ooh, that's rough. All right. That's a bad transition, so. I think I'm actually just going to get rid of that. I'm just going to have it just transition naturally. And when I mean naturally, I mean basically just put the what do you call it, in the sky. I'm just going to put the color balance in the sky layer. There we go. And I'm also going to make the sky larger. There we go. Just enough to kind of fits. There we go. Okay. And then the effects, color balance, I'm actually going to bring it here, and then I'm just going to mess around with the shadow blue. Make it look, I want to make it look a little darker. So then what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go into effect, color correction, hue, saturation, yeah. And I'm just going to kind of mess around, not with anything here. I'm probably going to mess around with the color change, and then I'm just going to just kind of mess around with the lightness, just a little, trying to turn it a little on the dark. Not really feeling it. Let's shift that up and let's see how that looks. Not too bad. I would say, instead of actually having a flat piece of this flat sky, I would probably even make another solid layer and then probably put like a gradient ramp and animate that. That would probably be a lot easier, but I sort of kind of digress. And okay, yeah, I'm gonna make this a little. I'm gonna have to scale this a little bit. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at the one view. And let's do a quick preview. Yeah, not crazy about this. I mean, I could kind of sort of make adjustments And I could probably also bring these palm trees a little further back. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of this is going to be kind of like by gosh and by golly, kind of touch and go, and then see how things ultimately will look.
And this is just a quick question for like how hard would it be to then, like say, raise the water, like make equipment,
Not well. Okay, you can pre-comp an animation and put that into a layer, and then have that kind of just move around. So that I've seen some really cool people do some really cool swirling effects, magic effects with the camera, just kind of like moving and kind of following the swirl, and when it reaches its destination, it's super awesome. You can animate something, put that in a pre-comp, and have that pre-comp move with the camera. I mean, yeah, again, this is just kind of me just messing around with it. And then what I could also do is, let's see, what I might do, let's try shadows. So let's try, I'm going to do a new comp real fast. I'm just going to do like a shadow test. And I'm actually just going to create, let me just go in and find a concrete wall. And of course AI is going to say, hey, we got one. Is anything in Vecteezy or... You know what? I'm just going to take one. Eeny, meeny, miny. There we go. Why not? And I'm just going to call this concrete. Okay, so I'm going to bring that in and import effect. And let's see, where are you? Ah, perfect. Okay. So let's say I want to just kind of, I'm just going to create new, I'm just going to create new text just for 3D layers. One of the things you can do, I'm going to make these both 3D. And let's see. I'm actually going to bring this up. And I'm going to, let's try this. Let's see if this works. You can also create lighting effects. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into layer, going to new, light. I'll try spotlight for right now, and watch what happens. When I do that, immediately the normal default illumination, it stops. So I'm actually going to create, this is going to be our main view, okay, our active camera, so to speak. Okay, self-orienting. I'm actually going to orient. Yeah, you wish. Let's orient. There we go. So as you guys can see too, if you want to, like, it's illuminating the letters. So you can get some really cool spotlight lighting effects, maybe something a little bit noir, so to speak. So I'm going to go into light options, cast shadows on. Let's see if that works. Not yet. So let's go into 3D layers. And you'll notice whenever you turn something to 3D, you get the material nodes, cast shadows. I'm just going to turn that on. So now what we can do is, let's see, accepts shadows on. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to now just increase my light. So I'm going to go into the intensity, move that, and then I'm also going to go in, I'm going to pull this back just a little bit, and I'm actually going to also mess around with the layers, you know, because now instead of me having, you can actually have like really cool, like kind of almost like a cast shadow for your animation, for your whatever you guys want to do. And whatever I animate here will be placed here. So let's see, let me kind of adjust the lighting. And again, I'm not expecting you guys to work on this and to do lighting effects. I'm just showing you guys something you can kind of have a lot more fun with if you guys want to kind of take it down that route. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. So the choice will be yours. So now we got nice, like, I'm going to quickly animate this really quickly. I'm going to add maybe like a quick opacity, why not? And the range selector, I'm just going to bring the opacity down, and I'm going to go into the range selector. I'm going to I'm actually going to do a start. And I'm going to also increase the intensity just a little bit. Let's see. Not too much. You don't want to make it bright. And I'm also going to, let's go in and line spacing. It's going to want us to have messed around with it, but let's try. No. Let's try. Maybe, you know, I'm not going to mess around with it too much. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go into here and I'm going to just spread out. This way you get to see. And also, guys, get into the habit, and I have noticed this, and I'm going to eat my own words for saying it because I forgot to do it myself. But get into the habit of using the title Action Safe Grid. I did notice with some of your homework assignments, yeah, the title Action Safe Grid is one thing that, oh, that's right, it doesn't work on 3D. Ah, curse. All right, wait, let me try. Yeah, it doesn't work on 3D. All right, never mind. But do get into the habit of that regardless. But yeah, so you can, you know, feel free to kind of like, again, it's, since what I'm doing is basically I'm just using it, creating like a shadow, and I'm just animating the text, but you're not seeing essentially the animated text, you're seeing the shadow as a result of that. And you can also mess around with the shadow properties. So let's take a look. I believe the shadow properties are cast shadows, accept shadows. I think it's actually here. Where is the shadow intensity? So then you want to kind of maybe soften it up just a little bit. So let's go into light options. Yes, that's where it is. Light options, and I believe it is shadow darkness. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually make it more like 60. So it's not like glaring dark. So you get to see some of the texture inside the, excuse me, inside the shadow. There we go. I'm just going to kind of just adjust it. There we go. So yeah, so again, you know, you can have fun with these with these if you like. You know, mess around. You don't have to be a 3D artist. You know, just want you guys to and have fun. Any questions so far?
Can you customize the light,
Uh,
hard light, soft light?
I haven't done that a whole heck of a lot, but you can adjust the light. So right now, what I'm more used to doing is just in color and intensity. Let's see if this. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so you can adjust it. Let's do more like a blue light. So if you really kind of want to add like a little bit of like atmosphere, you can do that. This is right now what I'm using as a spotlight. You can use point light, ambient light, parallel, but I normally like the spotlight because I think it is a little bit more fun. I like using the lights when I want to add a little bit of drama, and I find the spotlight actually works for that. I mean, the other stuff I would just say, you know, play around with it, play around with the settings, see what you can come up with. Yeah, of course. I think also if you have it's been a while since I've tried, but I believe last time I used a PNG, it will recognize the alpha transparency in the PNG, and it will create the silhouette of whatever your PNG has in there. Okay? Any questions so far? No? Okay, all right. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is give myself a quick moment, a quick break, and I'm going to look for footage to show 2D tracking. So if you guys want to, what I would say is right now it's like what, it's 1:53. You know, give yourselves like maybe about take 5 real fast, and then if you guys want to, I would suggest, you know, playing around. You guys, I've uploaded it up on Canvas. Download the AI file, mess around with it, play around with the 3D layers, okay? I'm not looking for anything, you're not gonna be tested. I just want you guys to at least get used to it and see if you're feeling it or not, okay? All right, cool. Now give me a second, I'm gonna go find some footage.